Hello, Lily. How are you today?
Hello, Midge Kirk, the fabulous Midge Kirk. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and we have
Oh,
been planning this for so long. Thank you for being here today. And so we're going to welcome
thank you
everyone.
for having me.
We're going to welcome everyone. We like to do this in the meeting room when people are real and we can see each other, but because of COVID, we're doing Zoom and we're getting pretty good at it, actually. So, Lily, I'm so happy that you're here today, and the library is just saying, welcome, welcome, welcome to everybody. You call
Oh,
yourself a human sparkler, and my goodness, you really are. In the early 70s, you figured out that creating jobs doing what you love to do was way more fun than the alternative. That revelation and sheer determination led you to follow your dreams and become a singer-songwriter, a recording artist, a national conference and retreat speaker, an author, an artist, and a teacher. Now, in 2008, after a life altering auto accident, you developed chronic and acute PTSD, agoraphobia, and autoimmune disease. Your journey within led you to discover hidden layers of trauma, how to connect the dots, and ultimately to rewire your brain back to wholeness. What a story. You approach art making as your soul medicine. I just love that. Nature is your university, and thoughts are your vehicles to greater self awareness. Lily, you're a Durango native, but you moved to Memphis in early 2015. Yay. You teach art workshops
yes,
locally, online, and you host creative retreats. You mentor teens, and you
yes.
have a vlog about your life in the four corners, and it's called My Postcard Life. And that's on YouTube. You'll have to talk a little bit later about what a vlog is because I know what a blog is, but until you, I didn't know what a vlog was. So you'll have to explain that. You
Awesome.
want to do that now?
Sure, absolutely. Uh, it's a visual form of blogging. So in the blogging world, you share what's going on in your world through the written word and pictures. And vlogging has taken it to the level of sharing what's going on in your world through the medium of video.
I
And
love
that just opens up so many more tactile, I don't know if it'd be tactile, but more visual
Yes,
experience so we can
yes,
share more with each other.
yes.
And it's fun.
It is fun. And
It's really
I
fun.
have been following you and just get so inspired and so love the sparkle that's in there. Lily, talk to us a little bit about your art. What is your art now?
My art now, I it's busy. It's busy because I like to do so many things and have the ability to do so many things. And so I have to kind of reel myself in a little bit because I can go in so many directions, and that is a great challenge to have. And so I have been working this last couple of years to hone it in a little bit to find the things that I really enjoy doing. So now I spend more time in mixed media, and that and DIY, do it yourself home type projects. But I love mixed media, and technically the way I do DIY is mixed media, but I enjoy so many different mediums. And I'd have to say, probably watercolor is a favorite, but so is a type of art journaling where you collage and add multiple layers and you just build upon that. And that's kind of speaks life to me because that's how life is. We are one big collage.
Yes,
We
we
have
are.
collected stories and experiences, colors and paint and so many things that we literally carry through life with us. And so I look at it as a vehicle that I can explore and go deeper with. I love mixed media. And mixed media technically means that you combine different mediums. It could be acrylic paints, you could use oils too, but you add paper. And I like using found objects. They can be multi-dimensional depending on what canvas that you're working in. So it really opens it up to use found things, memorabilia, creative papers, and recycling. I love to recycle older things and turn them into new things through the medium of mixed media.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I know that you have inspired me tremendously just in the short time we've been talking. So your art, I suspect you've been an artist your whole life. How does your art today differ from your art in the past? I mean, you were a singer-songwriter and you were magnificent as that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I don't sing anymore. I mean, I sing maybe in the car a lot. I don't sing publicly or perform anymore or record. But I do. How that has transitioned for me. My original dream as a teenager, actually younger than that, I think I was like 12, 11 or 12, was to be a singer. And so I just through determination made that happen. And I combined that for a long time with a speaking and traveling, doing conference work. And then when I became pregnant with my son, or shortly before that, I just changed all direction. I stepped away from the stage. I spent time at home, and I found other ways to live my creative dreams through, flowers. I had a really cool romantic flower cart in Ojai, California. And then from there, uh, that's when I did, later on, I went back into music. But when I became a single mom, I had to change everything. And that had been crafting. I did craft shows. I don't know what it was. I just saw so many opportunities to have fun doing what you were doing with a job. So I would always create fun if I say was working for a corporation or say a restaurant. I spent a lot of time supporting my dreams in restaurants. And I love the food and hospitality industry. I think it's a great industry for everyone to experience their people skills or learn people skills. And it's just also an art in itself. So from there, I just I wasn't living my dreams when I started working for the art institutes and in the early 2000s. And I was a recruiter for them. And I loved working for them. I loved working for them because I was planting seeds, watering seeds, uh, encouraging young people to live their creative dreams. And I spent 3 or 4 years traveling for the art institutes. And it was kind of, how life can uh, hit you with a surprise, or what we would call a tragedy or an accident, or something could just stop you in your tracks. And I was on this path and loving what I was doing, but there I was standing in front of, audiences every single day, telling them to live their creative dreams. And technically, I wasn't. I had stopped doing that. So in an event that really launched me full on into my creativity as I live it now was an auto accident. And the auto accident, of course, they're always unexpected, but there was a moment in that auto accident when I was certain that I was going to die, that our car flipped over an embankment and plummeted down 125 feet. And there was this moment, and the car fills up with this smoke from the airbags being deployed, and you can't see anything. And our car rested for a moment on this downhill slope, and I thought I looked out the window and it looked like it just went down into the abyss. And I was like, okay, it's over, it's done. But I had that experience that many people say they have when it's a near death or they feel they're going to die, is I had this like panoramic view of my life. My son came in the very first images, and that, my love for him. And right after that was like all of my, I hadn't really worked in my art studio. I hadn't really done anything. And I thought about all my creativity that I had just let go dormant. And it was kind of cool because we didn't die. We all survived. It ended up being the catalyst that brought me to this point because I hung on to that moment of like my dreams and living my actual creative life. So I lost my job after that because I couldn't work. And at first, that also seemed like a tragedy because I did love inspiring young people and working with teenagers every single day. But I wasn't living my life. And so, in that quiet time when I couldn't work and I couldn't drive and I lost my job, I had to shift myself. So, I turned my office into my studio and I removed everything that was work related as life had been before. In fact, I even called my desk, I refused to call it a desk, I called it a PlayStation. And another little footnote here, you mentioned in my introduction that I had PTSD and I truly was paralyzed with it. And what pivoted me was the times that I would be bedbound, sometimes for weeks, and it felt like a good chunk of my life, is I would jump on YouTube or Facebook also, because I had a lot of artists that I was following. And I would just be what I call an armchair traveler. And often when I greet my guests on YouTube, I will say, hello, creative adventurers, first time visitors, and armchair travelers, because I was an armchair traveler. I sat behind my screen and watched artist after artist after artist making art. And many times I wasn't able to make art, but it was like an education. And so I just soaked it up on that other side of the screen, learning, gathering, and building like seriously a degree in art by watching others do what they were doing. And that's when I fell in love with mixed media. So from there, this all took me to this place that I am now by learning and slowly getting up and making. And of course, I have a very supportive spouse, and he believes in me and loves what I do, and just has been the most um, nurturing guy in the whole world.
And you call him your Superman.
Yes, I do. Yes. And people in locally that went to the Purple Fox Conundrum, he made the big blue chair that was there. That was 2 years ago. And yeah, he's an artist himself too. And he's
Mhm.
also a computer geek. So when people ask me what Superman's real name is, I say Clark. Clark,
Good
because he
response.
is, and he will say he's a computer geek. But we make a great team
You do. You
working
really do.
together.
So clearly, the accident, which some people might call a misfortune, and in some sense it was, has been a huge influence. Now, are there other people or times or places in your life that have influenced your work? I'm especially interested in people that might have influenced you.
Right. Uh, well, in the music world, I had when I was in that line of business, I had a couple of influencers, but one in particular was when I went to live in a foster home, and the my foster mother was very supportive of my music, and got me into a group that toured Southern California. And we had the music instructor for that group was named Mrs. Deaver, and she saw my gifts. In fact, it was really hard for me to, I could nail it in a rehearsal. I could just, just whip out a song. But when it came to a live performance, I would freeze up. So I usually had someone come sing with me just so I could sing without freezing up. But Mrs. Deaver saw my gifts and talents, and she gave me a guitar. And she said, I want to give you this guitar. And she said, I'm not really putting a condition on it, except that I would really love it if you would use the guitar and use it to make more music. And of course, I mean, how could I refuse that offer? But it was having someone like that that influenced my music career that helped me um, work through the process of that, because that's not an easy industry to get into.
Mhm.
And it's uh, full of disappointment sometimes and full of wonderful experiences. There's nothing like singing live and performing live and being at one with your audience. But I lost my train of thought somewhere in there. But
No, that was beautiful, your influence. And so often stories of foster parents are not as loving and kind and inspirational as that one was. That was beautiful.
yes,
Yeah.
thank
I'm
you.
gonna I'm
And
gonna
she's
gonna throw in an advert right here. If folks visit
okay.
your postcard life, they can see and hear you singing a song that you wrote that's very beautiful. So that's my advert.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, thank you. And the song that you are talking about is Girl in the Mirror.
Yes, it
And
is.
that song is, I was 24 years old when I wrote that song. And it's kind of funny, looking in hindsight at that song, because at 24, I thought I had the world by the tail, that I'd figured it out, that I had reached womanhood. And I see now just the beauty of maturing,
Mhm.
the beauty of reaching this age. I'm approaching my 70s here in a year and a half, and looking back at all of the just the decades, if you even just went through the chapters of your life as maturing and growing. I love being where I'm at now. I love being a silver-haired, I don't know, I think in the indigenous, they call them wisdom keeper. And while I realize approaching 70 that I really don't know hardly anything,
Isn't it
that
wonderful?
there's there's so much more to learn and experience. But I love looking back at my younger stages of through the decades, and I can look at other women that are younger than me and older than me, but I can see their rites of passage. I can almost instantly identify with any woman at any age,
Mm,
because I've been there and I know where they're headed. And it's just so fun to figure it out in retrospect. Don't you think, Midge?
I
Have you
do.
found that?
Yes, absolutely. And I find it interesting that in our culture, in our time right now, rites of passage are not celebrated by our culture.
Right,
And we need
right.
to do that. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
And I think a little delayed gratification sometimes is not a bad thing
Not a
to
bad
toss
thing
in
at
there.
all. Yes. Yeah.
Just to have something to look forward to in those rites of passage,
Yes.
instead of having everything given to you really young. It's like my first time dressing up for, say, a prom was a really big deal. I had
Yeah.
never worn a pair of high heels or a bustier underneath my beautiful gown, and have, my hair done and wear sparkly jewelry and nylons and
Yeah.
girdle.
Benchmark. Yeah.
You track it with me.
Yeah.
All that stuff you wear.
Yep.
But it was so beautiful to experience that because I really felt like a princess. And this happened in my foster home. And it was my foster mother who dressed me up in all of her beautiful clothes for my very first prom, and kind of just made me feel, well, they called me Cinderella.
Magic.
And
Pure
I
magic.
felt like Cinderella
Yes.
coming home to live with them. It was
Yeah.
a beautiful experience. And I loved what you said too, Midge, that a lot of foster homes get a bad rap.
Mhm.
And I have to say that I really got the prize, the pot at the gold at the end of the rainbow. I really, really scored. And
Beautiful. Beautiful.
she's my best friend. We talk all the time. I miss her. She lives in Kentucky, but she's my biggest cheerleader and support person. And I'm so grateful to have her in my life because I'm here today because
Because
of her love. And if people want to hear my story, they can actually go on Raven Narratives
yes.
and find that
Yes.
story to listen to.
It's a
And
beautiful story. I heard you live that night, but I recommend you can just Google Raven Narratives and then find Lily and listen to her story. It's just beautiful. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. So Lily, when you
the
work,
power of love.
yeah, power of love, and you just exude it. It's just so beautiful.
Oh,
When you work, how do you work when you start a project or when you have an idea or you're in your studio? How is it that you work? Do you listen to music? What inspires you? Share your process with us, please.
okay, sure. Sometimes I listen to music, and sometimes I need it very quiet. I just like it, like the nothing going on, so I can just zoom in. But usually I like music, and I'll pick something that uh, it, I'm not a heavy rocker, although there's a time and place when I can appreciate that. But in a creative mode, I need a little more flowy music, airy fairy, that type of thing. But I think my process are things that sort of land in, like I'll get an idea for something by something I see. I
Mhm.
don't do commission work because usually when people ask you to do something, they have strong ideas of what they would like that to be, and they often even don't even know what they want. And so it's hard. I feel under the gun then, and then it turns into a job, and then I stop having fun, and then it's hard for me to do it because I don't have that creative expression. But here's an example. Liz Baum, realtor in Mancus, she posted a little video of her niece,
Delight.
Delia,
Delia. Yeah.
on Facebook, and she was skating. She took her skating.
Yes.
And I watched that little video over and over, and I couldn't help myself. I had to paint it. So I sat there and just took some screenshots, like hundreds of screenshots, until I found the exact one where she had her arms out, and the lights from the skating rink were shining down on her, and her little foot put out, and I had to paint it. I just had to do it. And so that's how I began. It's usually something, I'll see a portrait or a picture of someone, and it's got movement, it's got a story in it. And I like creating art like that. So if someone asked me to do a portrait of, say, their grandfather, and he had glasses on and he's smiling and it's the whole, I'd be like, no, sorry. Let's get an action shot of your grandfather. Let's put him in motion. But that's it. It has to be something that jumps into my heart. And then I start seeing it. And I start seeing it on the canvas. And um, burrows. That was a surprise for me. I had never painted a burrow before, but I love burrows so much that I couldn't help myself. I had to start painting colorful, whimsical burrows. So it just, I think I wait for, it's like a sign. It's like a little neon sign that says, "Hey, paint me," or "Hey." I don't know, but yeah, it's something. I'll catch a little glimpse of something and then go from there. So sometimes I sketch it out, other times I just really fly by the seat of my pants. And
Mhm.
sometimes I sit down at that canvas, I don't know what I'm going to do, and there's nothing worse than a big old white canvas staring at you, just a big old white nothing. So I usually start by just slapping some paint on that puppy.
Mhm.
And in in the art world, you can layer. So it's really cool. Most paintings look best when it has some layer of color underneath that. It just changes everything. So again, that's I think the mixed media and layering, just
And you
like
know
we
what I'm
layer
getting
ideas.
is a real freedom to express. I mean, you're not locked into anything. You're not in a box. I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes, that for me, being in a box would be the same thing as working in an office in a cubby.
Yep.
I mean, if you
Absolutely.
wanted to choke my spirit, it would be in a high rise somewhere in a
Yep.
little cubby.
Yep.
Like,
I hear you.
that would choke me.
I hear you. So, Lily, how do you see art as an influence in society in general?
Mm. You know, it's art that makes the world go round,
I
and
believe that.
without artists, we wouldn't have anything. Because what people, when they think of an artist, they think of someone sitting down and, Bob Ross maybe, or someone with a little hat, and they're doing, plein air painting out someplace. And that's what they think of as an artist. And the concept or conception is that you can't make money
Mhm.
being an artist, but art is literally everywhere. It's the clothes we wear. It was a designer that made those clothes. It was an artist that designed the print on the fabric. And if you see that fashion model, somebody took her picture. Someone was a stylist and made her look really good. We walk into a restaurant and everything inside of that restaurant is art. From the menu we picked up, the graphic designer designed that. The chef that designed and created the entrees or the desserts, the interior designer that did the room, the environment inside, and it's the industrial designer that made the tables or the chairs or made that special skillet that they're using. Or so it's all connected. It's completely connected. Art is everything. It's the cars we drive. Someone designed that car. So the room, the houses we live in, that's a designer. So everything is art. If you pick up a book, it's because an artist made that happen. And that also includes the words that go inside the book. Those are also artists, in my opinion, the authors of the world or the singers. So it all works together. Art is everything and everywhere. So today, in circling around to your question, art is our the way the way we protest, the way we express ourselves, the way we create ideas, put ideas in the air. It's the advertising. Without artists, it would be a pretty flat world.
Mhm.
Talk about a flat
Mhm.
flat planet without the artists. And we go back to the days of the cave dwellers, in our area that we lived, from the jewelry that they made, the pots they made, the paintings on the cave walls. We were born to create. We can't help ourselves.
We were. And I can't help but
Art is everything.
I wanna throw in that phrase that you've often used about art being soul medicine because, man, I really it is. It is. So, Lily, when you're
It
not
is.
engaged in a project, how do you spend your time? What do you enjoy doing most?
I enjoy I have hollyhocks. I love gardening. I love being outside. I don't hike as much as I'd like to. Excuse me, I just had a little Sorry.
Allergies.
Camera club. um, I'm not as active as I used to be, and I'm working on that, getting outside and being that way. But I love to garden. I really put my heart and soul into the hollyhocks that I grow up here on my little, I call it a little mini mesa, but it's a hill. But it's my gift back to the planet. I love supporting our pollinators, the hummingbirds, the bees, and the butterflies. And so I mean, I don't know how many varieties exactly, probably 25 plus. And so that's one of the babies that I nurture and take care of. It's too, kind of wild up here where I live to grow a garden. Eventually, I'll have a greenhouse up here and I can grow inside the greenhouse because horticulture is really near and dear to my heart, too. I studied ornamental horticulture in California and had a plant business. So there's everything. I mean, that's another medicine is sticking your fingers in the dirt.
Hmm.
And that's if you're depressed, if you can't find your connection, if you put your hands in that dirt or put your hands in paint, or just get outside and watch a bird, that's the other types of medicine. And speaking of birds, one of the things that I do, and we weren't able to do it last year, but I'm a part of the hummingbird banding, one of the groups here in the area. And so I get to be a part of the team that traps and measures and bands hummingbirds.
That's so wonderful. I know many of our patrons have done that over the years and shared what a wonderful experience that is. Yeah, yeah,
It's absolutely incredible to hold a little tiny, beautiful being like
yeah,
that. They're like little fairies,
yeah,
they're just like little
yeah,
fairies.
yeah.
But to work with the team and learn so much and be a part of documenting when they come into the area and when they leave, and it's just fascinating. So I like to do that. And I like to spend time with friends, and I like live music. I enjoy hearing live music. I love to support the arts in any way that I can, like that. So yeah, that's what. And I like to cook. I love to
Ah,
cook.
okay. I did not know that about you. So you have shared a lot about your life with us, and it's been very rich. You mentioned burrows earlier. Now, I think there might be a story there.
Yes, there is a story there.
I thought
This
so.
is also a really exciting, a little dream come true, because one of the things that I've loved to do since technically I was a teenager was mentor other teens. And I think that from my childhood experiences, I felt light years older than most of my peers because of the experiences I had gone through. And I think because also of the experience I had of being institutionalized for long periods of time in the system, and that means that I was locked up. That I got to observe. I am a people watcher and an observer. And so I watch so many things go on. And I think also I just had this natural empathy for teenagers, because I think that is one of our most delicate um, time periods in our life. And it's a big jumping off point into adulthood. And it's also one of the toughest. The peer group within teens, it's can be pretty heavy. So what my one of my big dreams in coming back home here to the Four Corners area was to mentor and be a support to the teens in this area. So pulling around to boroughs. We had our very first Borough Fest here in 2019. It was a huge success. And I mean, that's the closest I can get to painting a burro, or what I'm about to share with you, it to having a burro. I want a burro so bad. So anyway, being involved in the Burro Fest opened my eyes to an old dream that I had, and um, a memory of being, excuse me, 9 years old in Farmington and going to Girl Scouts and making a marionette. And that marionette process was so beautiful, building this geisha doll from the ground up, and then adding the strings and the control and making her come alive. And I never forgot that experience. So right after Burrowfest 2019, I started thinking about burro marionettes, and I couldn't get it off of my mind, of like coordinating something to bring that experience, and not just to a child or a teenager, but as a family to work together to make a marionette. So I asked the support of the Minkus Public Library to support me in creating a program that's also a mentoring program for teens. And I've invited Ryan Matthews, that many people know locally here. He's just so talented. He has a brain like mine. He can take a concept and bring it to life. He designs cosplay costumes and makes miniatures, and just the talent is off the charts.
Mhm.
So I've asked him to be my right arm in developing a program of making marionette uh, burro marionettes for Minkus Burro Fest 2021. So what's really fun about this too is it goes back into my desire of using recycled items, because I look at everything around me as like, why throw that away when we can turn it into something else?
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe that's a lot with our generation, Midge, of like not replacing something but making it work again or reconfiguring it. So I just really like keeping things out of the landfill. So we've devised a marionette made out of, I would say, probably close to 90% recycled items. And we've devised a plan of mentoring. We've picked a team of local teenagers, and we will be mentoring them how to make the marionettes, and then they will be assisting us for a program for the youth that will come with a family member and all come together and make these marionettes, and they will be used in the Burro Fest. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to be placed yet, but somewhere we'll have a focal point of the marionettes and the participants um, showing off their little marionettes to the hokey pokey,
Oh, how
and just having,
exciting.
doesn't that sound fun?
Yeah.
And there's something about a costume or a puppet or something in front of you that um, it's like you become a different person. It's like
Mhm.
you can kind of step out of your shy zone a little bit, and because you're not the focus, that marionette is the
Right.
focus.
Right.
So we will participate in the activities, and I think it's going to happen after the Donkey Derby, while they're judging the best in show and all the different categories. This is going to be so much fun. They have really, I don't want to give a whole lot away, but it's really, I think everybody's antsy to get out there again, including the little burros. And those of you who attended Burro Fest 2019 know exactly what I mean. I think the paper said there were like 200 people there, but we
Mhm.
know there was like 500. It was, and there's not a cranky face in the crowd.
Nope.
None.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Everybody just smiling and watching this all go on. But
Yeah.
the other part of this is Ryan and I have a bigger dream of teaching teenagers how to become entrepreneurs.
Wow.
So we want
Wow.
to train them how to make a marionette, go through the whole process of, say they were an artist and selling what they've created. So the creative district, Mancos Creative District, has given us permission to have a booth. I will be there painting. I'm one of the artists that's going to be painting a burro. After the Derby, everybody just comes downtown and they'll have booths set up in the center of town. And so there's, I think, 15 artists, and we'll be sketching or drawing a burro that will be assigned to us. So the mentors will have a booth next to us, and they are going to be selling their marionettes that they've made. So we're going to teach them the whole process of what would that be like, if you were to be self-employed. What would it cost for your booth, and what do your materials cost,
Right.
and how do you set your price points, and how do you market yourself, and how can you make money, support yourself doing what you love. So
Talk about
I've done
planting
this
a
my whole
seed.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just, because not every student is college bound.
Exactly.
That what is wrong with training people that they can do things with their hands and make stuff and sell it. So I don't know too many programs out there where they are working with youth this way to show them how to do it. So
Mhm.
they could start doing it to make some money, to say they were going to college.
Right.
They
Right.
can supplement their incomes. I just want teens to know that they're not helpless,
Yep.
that they have choices. And if we can funnel them into a direction of how to do that, they can support themselves. They can figure things out. They can go, I could make something, I could sell. And so we want to show them the way you do that.
That's beautiful. That's
Thank
beautiful. I love it.
you.
So, Lily, as we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today? This has been wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I would love to encourage people to come follow me on my postcard life
Yes.
on YouTube, and you would find me under my name, Lily Diane. And
Spell that for us,
yes, Lily is
please.
Lille, Diane, Diane. And sometimes there's confusion around my name. People look at my name and they think it's little, or like Lil is short for like little Diane. I've even been introduced as little Diane. I've even had it written in the newspaper, little Diane will be singing at blah, blah, blah. So some people look at and they'll just skip it and they'll call me Diane because they don't want to call me little or Lil, but it's Lily. And so Lily Diane and my postcard life, I would love to have you come and hang out with me there, because I am giving you little peeks into the Four Corners area. I have lots of tutorials. They're free. I want to encourage people to dip into that soul medicine of creating things,
Yep.
of making things. That's the thing that got me out of my kind of my sick bed.
Mhm.
And that's where I go when my head gets messy. I go back into art. And when you have PTSD and anxiety and agoraphobia, you don't ever really fully get rid of those things, but you learn how to help yourself through it. And so art, writing, gardening, sitting in nature, music, all of those things are the soul medicines that help us reconnect and realign to ourselves. They help us know we're safe. And so, I often hear people say, I can't draw a stick person. And I'm like, can you write letters? Like, can you print the alphabet? And they're like, yes. And I said, well, then technically you have all the components in writing a letter of a stick person, the line from the B, the circle from the B. There you go. Put those together and you have a stick person. But sometimes it's those concepts we have, that art is something that we leave in the past, something we did as kids.
Mhm.
No, we are creators. We were born to create. So art is a great way to reconnect with yourself, and scribble and doodle and kick that person, that voice in your head, that critic. I usually give him a name like Bob. And I'm like, Bob, when he starts yammering at me about what I'm doing or not doing or how imperfect something is. I have often had a student in one of my workshops when they're being hard on themselves. I have them physically pretend they've got Bob in their hands. They walk him out the door and they boot, they drop kick him right out and tell him, go get out of here, Bob, because it's our that little voice that messes us up. So art making is is the way to that's it's medicine. It's just good for you. It's a happy pill.
Yeah.
Happy.
And I want to add here that Lily has donated, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 beautiful DVDs from Interweave on making faces, on lettering, on journaling, art journaling to the library. So they are available. And I had the pleasure of being able to preview them before we catalog them, and they are all wonderful. They're
Aren't they
inspiring.
wonderful?
They are, but
Yes.
your YouTube channel is also inspiring. I hadn't picked up a paintbrush in maybe 3 years, Lily, and I watched your piece about the first piece you did after you lost your precious dog, Toby, and that just set
Yes.
me on a path. And I've done the 4 seasons of that, and I have
Oh,
just,
Mitch.
and that Bob wasn't even around. So I have to say thank you to you for that.
Oh, you are welcome. Thank you for sharing that with me. There's I'm kind of real and silly and okay, extra silly sometimes on my YouTube channel, but I that's what I feel, being a human sparkler is also being really real. And I just want to connect with people and help people reconnect to themselves and understand that every single one of us is a human sparkler. And if we ever needed to sparkle and shine, it's right now. And the power of a smile, and I know a lot of people wear masks, but it also shows in the
It does.
eyes.
It does.
It is we can do so much more with a smile. um, just a nice gesture like that. I firmly believe in uplifting others to elevate them and, lift others up. I think that we all just need that human sparkler touch, and we are the lamps, and we need to light them up
Yeah.
and sparkle and
Yeah.
realize that every single one of us has that ability to sparkle.
Well, Miss Lily, you certainly do it so beautifully. Thank you for joining us today, and thank everyone else
Oh,
for tuning in to listen to this replay. We hope you enjoy it. Mancos Public
oh,
Library
thank you.
and Lily Diane, I love you.